Story 1. My husband is reluctant to be intimate with me after I was in a major accident. I, 30 female, have been married to my husband, 45 male, for 5 years and together for 8. Obviously, we have an age gap in our relationship, and whenever we discussed possible health issues or medical care, it was regarding him. About 4 months ago, I was in a car accident. I was talking on Bluetooth to my husband because I was nervous driving on the icy roads going to our house when another car rounded a corner too fast and lost control. It was one of those exact wrong moment things, and my car went off the road and into a tree. My husband heard the whole thing, and my last memory before I lost consciousness was him screaming my name. I don't want to get into the bloody details, but I ended up being in the hospital for over a month. I needed multiple surgeries and have been in physical therapy ever since. I'm finally getting to a point where I feel like myself again and am no longer in pain. I've gained back some weight and look good if I do say so myself. My husband literally worked out of my hospital room for the entire time I was there. He went home to shower, sleep, and look after the dogs, then came right back. He attended all my therapy appointments so he would know how to better help me recover at home. He was amazing, and everything I could ask him to be in that kind of horrible situation. I love him so much, and so yesterday, while shopping, I saw this gorgeous black lingerie set and decided to surprise him. We haven't had intercourse since before the accident, and every time I try, it feels like he makes an excuse or expresses some concern about some random body part of mine that's no longer injured. He was on his laptop in bed when I came in wearing my new purchases, and I could tell he was taken by surprise. I basically crawled into his lap and started kissing his neck and grinding on him. He was definitely hard, but then he lost it and pushed me away, saying that we shouldn't rush this and he doesn't want to jeopardize my recovery with intercourse. I was crying by the time he ended the sentence and said, "I'm fine. The doctor says intercourse is fine," but he was already walking into the bathroom and turning on the shower. I don't know what to think. Is it the scars? Is the memory of me in the hospital bed unable to even sit up by myself repelling him? I finally am starting to feel good about myself and my body again, and the fact that he won't touch me is really hurting my mental health. It's probably a long shot, but has anyone else experienced this? Well, I have not. The best advice I think I can give in this situation is to sit him down in a situation that isn't, that intimately charged, and talk to him and express your feelings like, hey, the fact that the doctor says I'm okay to have intercourse and you're pushing me away is really messing with my head. It is making me feel completely undesirable, and I am becoming depressed over this. And if he is having certain issues because of the accident that's making him worry, maybe you can start slow. Maybe he needs to talk to a therapist. Maybe you need to do a couples therapist. Who knows? It sounds like he is probably just kind of nervous about all that. I don't know. Hopefully it's not that he is turned off by the scars and everything, because if that's the case, that sucks so much. But it sounds like he's a pretty caring, loving person. So hopefully this is something that just some open, honest communication in a non-charged environment might be able to rectify. Story 2. The day I was hired and fired by a law firm. So this was about 5 years ago. I worked as a chef at a bakery. It was my job to make everything but the baked goods. Every morning the baker and I would walk in at about 4 a.m. and knock out all the food needed for the day. This would leave me ready to go home around 10 a.m. or so. This puts us at the perfect time to deliver online orders. It was common for companies or other entities to place large catering orders with us. The baker and I would split them down the middle and deliver them on our way home. The delivery in question was for Bob, Dick, and Harry, attorneys at law. I have never delivered to BD&H before, but they were regular of sorts. Every financial quarter, they would hold a huge meeting. This meeting would require roughly $700 of bagels and bagel accessories. This spread included 8 dozen bagels, all 10 of our flavors of cream cheese, pastries, brownies, and enough coffee to pour a college dorm through final weeks. My passenger seat, entire back seat, and entire trunk are filled with food. Now, BD&H is located on the 9th floor of a commercial skyscraper deep in an industrial complex downtown. Parking was non-existent. There were meters outside the building, but I knew I would need close to 10 trips to deliver all this food and didn't have a lot of change on me. Company policy was to just pay whatever fines I needed to park and then turn in my receipts. The money would end up on my next paycheck. So the building has its own parking garage, so I pulled in. The security guard, let's call him Sam, stops me and says that the parking garage is for employees only. I happily show him my delivery invoice and offer him a bribery bagel. Never leave the store without at least 2. Sam refuses the bagel and says I can park in one of the guest spots on the bottom floor. The fee is $5 for every 30 minutes, minimum $10. I thank him and head to the bottom floor of the garage. So there are a total of 6 guest parking spaces. Just 6. All of them are taken. I head back up to talk to Sam when I see an open parking spot reserved for Bob, Dick, and Harry, attorneys at law. There are cars in every spot, with many spots being reserved for employees by name. The last spot is empty and is reserved for guests of BD&H. Perfect! I pull on it. I grab the most important part of the delivery, the coffee, and head to the stairwell. I get into the elevator and hit the button for floor 9. The elevator asks for my employee ID card. Well, crud. So I tried the lobby. That works. From there, it's 9 flights of stairs until I'm outside the law firm of Bob, Dick, and Harry. After introducing myself, I'm shown to the room where the meeting will take place. A table is set aside for me. I set down the coffee and headed for trip number 2. That is when I see Sam talking to the receptionist. He runs over and starts shouting at me, "I am putting a boot on your effing car! I told you to park as a guest on the bottom floor!" I don't get a word in before he launches into a speech about security and how I could be hurting his building or people. That is when a very well-dressed man walks over. It so happens to be Bob, the Bob of Bob, Dick, and Harry's. Bob asks, "What is the problem?" and soon the two are arguing. Bob, "OP is delivering food for my meeting. He's allowed to use my parking spots." Sam, "Those parking spots belong to the building. You're leasing them like you lease this floor. I am the one who says who can park there. He isn't an employee, so he isn't parking." Then I'm making him an employee. "You can't do that." "You know what? You're right. Harry, get over here." Harry walks over with an amused look on his face. "Harry here is the head of our HR department. Harry, hire this boy." Harry pulls out a piece of paper and scribbles, "OP is now a member of Bob, Dick, and Harry's," and signs it, then asks me to sign as well. I do. Bob reaches over to the receptionist, who's already grabbing some things. "Here's your employee badge, your parking permit, and your elevator key card. Now please do the job I have hired you to do and deliver my bagels." Sam looks on in utter fury as I ride the elevator down to my car. 7 sweet, sweet elevator rides later, all the food is delivered. Bob and Harry meet me at the table. "OP, you've made great strides in this company, and I'm proud of your work, but I feel it's time for us to part ways. Here is your final check." Bob then hands me a crisp $50 bill. "And your severance package. Now please be sure to return your badge and card on the way out." Harry hands me a $20 bill and sends me on my way. The receptionist is sure to validate the parking ticket that Sam gave me, and I head out. On the way out, Sam grins at me and asks for my ticket. I place it in the machine in his station. It sees the validation I got and lets me out for free. Sam glares at me as I drive off into the late morning sun. Hey, Sam, either you're very bad at your job, or the people who hired you and trained you, or own the building, are very bad at their job. The fact that this person is doing a delivery and you're saying they can't use the guest spot for the people they're delivering to is wild. It's absolutely bonkers. As someone who used to be a delivery driver for a bakery in Northeast Minnesota, and on occasion had to deal with someone kind of like you, though not nearly to that extent, I want you to know just how many people don't like you. Hate you, really. And I'm sure that you're aware of this, and I'm sure it wears on you and makes you the crabby person that you are. You're probably crabby at home, crabby with your kids, just complaining as you go and have drinks with your friends. And you know what might make you feel better, what might improve your whole life, is if you just stopped being an a-hole. Story 3. Dressed overly casual at a designer store so that the rude sales rep wouldn't get commission. I don't typically buy a lot of designer clothing, but when I do go shopping, I dress pretty casually. Last week I was strolling through the mall and there was designer backpack on display that caught my attention. I went inside the store, wearing a hoodie and ripped jeans, and went to inquire about the price of the backpack. I waited around for 10 minutes for someone to help me until I decided to go up to one of the sales representatives myself. She told me to wait because she was helping another customer, so I sat down and waited. I saw her in the corner of the store just standing, not doing anything. I decided to wait another 5 minutes for her to come back, but she never did. I walked back up to her and told her I wanted to inquire about the backpack. I asked her if she could bring one from the back room so I could take a closer look at it. She told me that she wouldn't be able to do that unless I was planning on purchasing the item. She seemed annoyed with my request. Before I could say anything else, she quickly walked away to help another customer. I'm quite young, 25 female, and I could tell she didn't think I was serious about purchasing it and didn't want to waste her time. I would have actually purchased it then and there if she hadn't been so dismissive. A few days later, I went back into the store. This time I made sure to dress even more casually than before. I walked in with a pair of sweatpants, running shoes, a tank top, and zip-up. The same lady was working that day and turned her back to me as soon as I walked in. I went up to one of the other sales representatives. This guy was younger, smiling, and seemed eager to help, and I told him I wanted to purchase the backpack, and he gladly went inside and got it for me. He even asked if I'd like to take a look at it before buying. I thanked him, and he checked me out. The store manager was also by the cashier, and I let him know that I came in last week and that the lady wouldn't let me see the product before purchasing it. He was upset to hear this and told me that this wasn't the first time he had received a complaint about her. The item was a few grand and all the commissions went towards the junior. He was so kind and grateful. She avoided eye contact with me after she got told off by her manager, and I smiled at her as I walked out of the store. Don't judge a book by its cover. So I have worked in commission sales, and I also know that a number of my coworkers did crap like this. It was a little bit of a higher-end store for furniture and appliances out west. Feel free to guess what it is in the comments, because I'm not going to bring it up. But I worked in electronics, specifically in the TVs, where, yeah, like if you sell people the cheaper TVs, you're not making that much, so you want the customers with some moolah. I didn't judge. If a customer came in, they looked like they needed help, I go and talk to them. I don't care if they came in going, yeah, I want a 23-inch TV, something that I would make literally maybe $5 off of. But other people would constantly judge people by their looks and try to avoid them. Even if we had positions where if you were up front, you took the next customer coming in. If the next customer looked like they didn't have a lot of money, sometimes if the right person was up in the front position, they would suddenly, oh no, I have a phone call to take. Someone else can have this. Yeah, they typically did better in sales. I can't blame someone working commission for trying to make the most money. I just think it sucks because it does make workers treat customers, it makes workers be prejudiced towards customers based on their looks. And I wasn't. And I didn't do very good at commission sales. Let's leave it at that. Story 4. Call the HOA because my yard is devaluing your house? All right. I'll have it clean by the inspection date. This is a story about my mother. She's always been incredibly hard-headed, but this sticks out a lot from my teenage years. Once a year, she always had us pull everything out of the garage, lots of boxes. My mom has a concerning amount of possessions, so we could go through it and clean/reorganize. This particular year, the couple who owned the house across from us, Flippers, were in the process of selling their house. Unhappy with my mother's unsightly driveway covered in boxes soiling their good image, they made a call to the HOA. By the time my mother received the letter, the mess had been put away, but they decided to get her on a few other complaints, such as the bikes against the side of the house and the patchy gravel. She had 2 weeks to have everything up to standards. Petty and easily frustrated, my mother knew immediately who to call since the couple had come over and told her flat out with their renovations they were selling that house for way more than any other house in this neighborhood and would appreciate if she respected that by keeping her property on par. For the next 2 weeks, every box from that garage was in our driveway. The couch and the living room TV came next. This was early summer, so it was perfect weather to sit in your yard in your short shorts and sports bra. My mom made sure to wave and smile every time they brought someone over for a showing. The final step came at the end of that 2 weeks, though. After the yard had been cleaned up and cleared by the HOA, my mom went to the local Walmart and bought a for sale sign. She wrote about a quarter of their ridiculous asking price on it and finished off with a big "sold" written across the front and stuck it out in our yard. No clue what they ended up selling their house for, but it sat empty for a while, so I'd assume it was below offer. Oh, it's a combination of just two of my least favorite things, HOAs and house flippers. And look, not all of them are bad. There are some house flippers who are taking some houses that really need to be renovated and saved because there's, some mold problems or some faulty stuff. And those house flippers do a good service. And then there's a bunch of yahoos who don't know what the hell they're doing, trying quickly flip and modernize a house to sell it for a huge profit, and they suck, and they are helping to ruin the economy, and I just can't stand it. They're just trying to make an easy buck out of doing what is really, really bad work. Take this from someone who has done house renovations. They're so bad at it. And HOAs are terrible too, most of the time. Not always, but those I'm gonna say mostly just bad. I just can't stand them. And I will always applaud anyone who is willing to stand up to those folks and maliciously comply just as hard as they possibly can. I think we should all be doing that as much as possible until we drive them all into extinction. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.